Right, so for today's video, I really want to talk about something that's been eating me alive for the last few weeks, and it's something that's really been on my mind recently. Probably because of the fact that I have to go back to school in early February, which is about 2 weeks away now. And let me tell you, I'm extremely fired up about this topic, and I have so many things to discuss, because I have way too many problems with this thing that everyone basically has to do, and it's ridiculous. Everyone does this at some point in their life, and that is go to school. It's required by law, and it's basically in every single developed country, and I hate it. Dispute me in the comments and just tell me how much you hate me because of this. I genuinely don't care. Like, I genuinely hate the school system. It's broken, it's flawed, and there are way too many problems with it. Now, for some reason, that's a controversial opinion, but today I'm going to be covering my reasons as to why. So before any of you call me lazy and just I don't want to do the work or whatever that sort of stuff, before you guys say any of that, just watch the entire video and just listen to all my points before you make a judgment on it. Just don't be a brain dead person who just dislikes a video and leave. Now, before I talk about this, I should probably start off by saying that in Australia, where I live, I can safely say that the school system is way better here than it is in America. Now, that's not to say that the school system here is good by any means, because it is terrible and it does need a revamp. But in America, I can just say that it's way worse and way too formal. Now, before I talk about these points, please do not take this video as me saying to drop out of school and do whatever you want, because there still are career choices that do require school, and I do highly recommend staying in school to explore your options and all that sort of stuff. But I'm just saying that there are a lot of career choices like YouTube, for example, that do not use school in any way. Like, I'm not going to use maths and any of that sort of stuff to do YouTube. I guess there are a lot of numbers involved, but anything past year 6 maths just really isn't required. But anyway, let's just get into these points. So the first point I want to talk about is that the school system is way too old. Basically, back in the day, the school system was used to produce factory workers, which is basically, you see nowadays, people working in fast food and sort of retail jobs that don't require a lot of work. I mean, there really is no individuality or creativity in working in fast food. You're literally just cooking up chicken or cooking up like burgers and all that sort of stuff. And that's exactly what the school system taught you to do. Like, the school system, the discipline is insane. All it basically is people and teachers trying to get you to be obedient. You have to ask to speak. You have to ask to use the toilet, which is ridiculous. You basically have to ask and just put your hand up, raise your hand, like sit down, all that sort of stuff, and it's insane. At my school in particular, and I'm not going to talk about where my school is or any of that sort of stuff, but at my school specifically, they do this thing. It's absolutely ridiculous. So basically, like, you can use the toilets like during recess and lunch, but for some weird reason, I don't understand why, it's so ridiculous. During class time, during like period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, what they do is they lock the toilets. I'm not even joking. They literally lock the toilets. They don't do that at my primary school. They do it at my high school. And to be honest, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It's ridiculous. It's breaching the use of my basic human functions. Like, you're not even going to let me go to the toilet during class. Like, what if I really need to go? What, am I just meant to hold it until I go to lunch? I absolutely hate that. And I'm going to say that's the one thing about my school that I genuinely hate. You can't expect me to go 2 hours without going to the toilet, and then when I go to class and ask you, can I go to the toilet, you just say, oh, well, you should have gone at lunch. And I know that it's not the teacher's fault, and I highly like hate the teachers get put on this sort of thing, how they get hated just because the school system sucks. Teachers are just doing their job, and I like most of the teachers. Like, teachers are cool. Teachers are just there to do their job, get their paycheck, and leave. Like, I have nothing against most of them. Of course, there are some who are strict and, are just absolutely insane, but for the most part, they're just doing their job. But you know that feeling when you ask a teacher, can you go to the toilet, and they say, oh, you should have gone at recess. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't need to go at recess. My bladder sort of runs on its own schedule, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm sorry that I need to go to the toilet now when I didn't need to go at 11 a.m. at recess. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's not my fault. I'm gonna go to the toilet whether you like it or not. And then the other thing where you have to raise your hand to speak. Like, why on earth is that a thing? I get the teachers have to explain the task and all that sort of stuff, but at least let me talk. Like, what? Again, it just goes back to the point of factory workers, and now the school system is way too old, and they really need to update it, because at this point, like, there's so many jobs that require creativity, and the fact that you're gonna make me sit there and not let me talk and just make me be obedient for 6 hours a day and not let me go to the toilet, you are just setting me up to become a fast food worker and just have a job that pays me 30 grand a year. Like, nah, I'm good, mate. I'm gonna do what I want to do. Obviously, this is coming from someone who is a YouTuber and does YouTube as a sort of a job, I'd sort of say, and makes their money that way, because this requires a lot of creativity, like editing videos and all that sort of stuff. Like, I can tell you right now, school did not teach me how to make YouTube videos in the slightest. School did not inspire me. School did not teach me how to use Premiere Pro. School did not teach me how to set up my microphone, make a PC, make money, any of that sort of stuff. School did not teach me any of that. I'm basically self-taught, and I did all this on my own. Like, all this sort of stuff. Me getting to where I am today is basically all on my own. Like, school really doesn't teach you how to express your true talents and interests. Like again, school didn't teach me how to make YouTube videos. All most schools care about at this point is grades and numbers and basically their average test scores just to make them look good for some reason. I don't understand why. Now, another point I want to bring up is the subjects that they teach as core subjects, as they call them, and most of them are basically useless. Maths, I can say up to year 6 and during primary school is pretty important. Like, you need to know how to multiply numbers, add numbers, and subtract and all that sort of stuff. But after year 6, you start getting into algebra and like Pythagoras' theorem and all that sort of stuff. And I don't understand why. It's so stupid and so ridiculous. After year 7, you do not need to use any of this sort of stuff. Unless you're going into engineering and a job, or like if you're being a nurse or something like that, where maths is pretty important and all that sort of stuff, then sure, like you can do that. But I don't need to know the Pythagorean theorem to understand how YouTube works and how to make a video. Like, it's just so unnecessary, and the stuff that I'm learning at the moment as a year 10 student is so stupid. 90% of the stuff I bet I'm going to learn this year when I go back to school is just going to get thrown under the rug and is never going to be used by me in any time of my life. I'm literally going to forget it the second I learn it, and it's just stupid. But yet I have to do maths all the way through to year 12 because some bloke higher up in the government thinks that I need to use it. And again, I'm not promoting dropping out. This is just a case for me where I do YouTube. Of course, most of you I'd say are about 13, 14, and you probably don't really know what you're going to do yet. So from an advice of someone who is a few years older, I highly recommend please stay in school, like explore your options, do all that sort of stuff. But please don't just become a robot that just does what everyone says just because you can. Like, you can become your own person. You can do what you want. Like, I'm just saying, like, please don't just drop out because I'm making a video like this. Now, another point I gotta bring up is the way schools teach and the way schools sort of like educate people, as they say. It's so dumb. Back to the point of schools getting average test scores and that's all they really care about. School teaches you how to recite information, not keep it in your head for life and not educate the person. Education is teaching someone how to do something. School is just telling you how to recite information, like basically memorize it and put it on a test. That's all they do. All they do is force feed you information and then you just throw it up on the test a few days later. And then you just forget that information as soon as you leave the room. Like there's no education, there's no learning, there's none of that. Of course, in places like Finland and more sort of developed countries in the world, there are school systems that are good and do teach you that sort of stuff. But in places like America, they do just a really horrible job at that, if I'm being honest. Like, when you study for a test, for example, you just spend all night like studying this textbook that they give you that you have to pay an absurd amount of money for, and then you just forget it the next day after you do the test. Like I guarantee you, please tell me in the comments if you've studied for a test and then the next day after you've done the test, you suddenly remember the information. Like, you just don't. Now, I'm not gonna act like I know all the answers and how to like make the school system better, because I'm just some guy on YouTube who's just making a video about school and who's just pissed off at school. But from some research that I've done online, if anyone higher up in the government is watching this video, which I highly doubt they are, please listen closely to this. If you want to teach a person, especially a child who's like 10 years old, force feeding them subjects that they don't even care about, like English, maths, and science and all that sort of stuff, is not going to do anything but frustrate and confuse a student, especially a child. The best way to do it is sparking someone's curiosity and sparking a student's curiosity and giving people choices on what they want to learn, because there's so many career choices out there and so many things that people can learn. Like, just let them choose. Now, another point I want to touch on is the wasted amount of time that school can take away from someone. This is a very personal point, and this 100% applies to me, so I'm going to talk about this pretty heavily here. In school, for me at least, we go to school for 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and it goes for about 7 hours a week, and we get about 2 days off on the weekend. Now, after telling you everything that I've told you in this video about school before, you can kind of tell that spending 35 hours a week at some building that is basically a more friendly prison is probably the most stupid thing. Now, after telling you about all the things about the school system and this whole video, you can kind of tell that spending 35 hours at some building, which is basically a more friendly version of a prison that most of the time we have to pay to go to, is simply the most bullshit thing I've ever seen the government do and they've ever implemented. Sure, it might have worked like 100 to 200 years ago, but this is 2021 we're talking about. People have their own interests and unique abilities, so why are we stuck 35 hours a week learning about the Pythagorean theorem and just random stuff we don't care about, when I could be making a YouTube video, for example, and making money when I could, well, like, it just makes no sense to me. School, for me at least, and this is probably just for my sort of case here, this might not be the same for you. Like, you guys could be studying at university, like becoming becoming a doctor and all that sort of stuff. And you know what? Good for you. Like go on and keep doing that. But for me at least, school and university and all that sort of stuff is the biggest waste of time in my entire life. Right now I'm on school holidays, which to me is the only time of the year that I can actually be happy and enjoy myself without having mountains of homework and mountains of work and just group projects that I don't care about. And now when I go back to school, I'm gonna have less time to do YouTube videos, which means I'm probably gonna not be able to upload daily, and less time to pursue my passion, which is YouTube and just what I love doing, and that is entertaining an audience. And it's not like I can do anything about it either. Like, I'll just have to go through it and accept it, which is so dumb. I hate it. Right, now this last topic that I'm going to be talking about is probably the one I'm going to get the most heated over, and I'm getting heated just talking about it now. And I'm sorry if I go a bit over the top, but there is no way I can go making a video about the school system if I don't talk about this. And this topic is homework. Oh my God, homework. I hate it. It's BS. It should never existed. It's a complete waste of time. And it's an unnecessary stress on not only my life, but so many other people's. The amount of homework schools give you, especially in high school, is absolutely insane. It's a waste of time, a complete unnecessary stress on my life and so many others. Apparently the goal of homework was to make people manage their time and cope with different tasks wisely and all that sort of stuff. But seriously, after discussing most of the things that I've discussed right now, and the things that people learn in school, I don't actually physically understand the point of giving students so much of it. Again, back to the time wasting thing, all giving homework to students does is just waste their time. Especially for me in my case, like for me doing YouTube, me having a ton of homework to do is just taking away from me being able to make videos and pursue what I love doing, which is making videos. I don't understand it. It's so stupid. Homework is BS. I hate it. I don't understand it. It's probably the most annoying thing about school, even worse than maths and all that sort of stuff. I used to love doing maths like back in year 6 and year 5 because they actually used to make it fun. Like I can safely say that high school is much worse than primary school. Of course, primary school has a lot of flaws as well, but for high school is absolutely insane. But yeah, I think that's all I got to talk about today. If you guys have any disputes in the comments, but down below, I really want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. I really want to hear you guys chat this out in the comments because, you know, I do think that there are a few people that are pro school system. So please, if you have any disputes, put them in the comments. Anyway, with that all being said, thank you all for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'm going to be posting videos like this all the time. This is sort of a new video this is sort of a new topic that I'm going to be talking about. So yeah, with that all being said, thank you all for watching and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.